Monsieur le Président, et merci à tous les témoins d'avoir partagé leurs expériences. Thank you very much for your testimony today. Ms. Hassan, you focused your efforts on women's rights in the Middle East and North Africa. I'm wondering if you could share with us what the state of those rights are in those part of the world. What are the biggest barriers that women are still facing, and are there likely to be any sort of easy wins or advances that are happening now that will benefit us?
Thank you so much for the question. I think the situation for women in the Middle East is one of the complicated issues and multi-layered, but if we can see in the countries which has some stability, and definition of stability is also so complicated in this region, we can see how some of the laws and regulations have been advanced, but without mechanisms to implement. So we can see now that we have a progressive law for combating violence against women in Tunisia, as example, but it is written, but it's not implemented on the ground based on different things and others, and the attacks for women human rights defenders in country like Tunisia, and the one who created this law in Tunisia while she was a parliamentarian. We have the system of the countries which mainly have wars and conflicts, and we can see how sexual violence, rape, and gang rape have been not only increased, but it have been also a weapon of war, like what's happening in Sudan. What's happening in Sudan is one of the most outrageous things happening to women without, of course, local mechanisms, and the international system is failing, I think, the Sudanese women big time. We can also see the other countries which have some of the opening, like the Gulf countries, they did some of the opening in certain things, but the holistic approach is still not implemented. We can see that the economic participation for women is one of the main barriers for women. Legal system, especially in the private life, and combating violence against women. But we can see some of the advancement in the public sphere. So some countries like Egypt now has more female judges, but at the same time, we still have not having some laws and regulations which protect women. So how to bring women's issues to the status of not being on tokenism more than full empowerment. This is a hard thing, but for the conflict, I think sexual violence, rape, and gang rape is the most outrageous things have been facing women from this region.
Well, I'm wondering how the 2011 revolution in Egypt galvanized you and inspired you to think about what would be possible in terms of change.
Yeah, what has been happening in Egypt, and I'm so proud that I was part of this process for years. I think in Egypt, especially, women's movements and feminist movements have been capitalized on these changes in different things. We have been facing outrages, attacks, personally and on the level of the women human rights defenders, also the spread of the gang rape and sexual violence, in addition to other restrictions. But at the same time, we have been working deeply on changing the constitution, having new laws to combat and criminalize sexual harassment, having women judges in Egypt, have more women in the police and other things. And because of that, I think that having this intersectional and transnational movements and groups are giving the spaces for each others to share experiences and also to see how some generations have been trying to open some spaces so others can build on it on intergenerational and also open-minded processes.
Thank you.